بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم حميم والكتاب المبين إنا جعلناه قرآنا عربيا لعلكم تعقلون.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. We continue inshallah ta'ala with the tafsir of Surah Az-Zukhruf and with ayah number 46. Ayah number 46 from Surah Az-Zukhruf. I will recite the ayat here in front of us inshallah till 56, even though the first ayah is not written, but we'll recite them all inshallah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. ولقد أرسلنا موسى بآياتنا إلى فرعون وملئه فقال إني رسول رب العالمين. فلما جاءهم بآياتنا إذا هم منها يضحكون وما نريهم من آية إلا هي أكبر من أختها وأخذناهم بالعذاب لعلهم يرجعون. وقالوا يا أيها الساحر ادع لنا ربك بما عهد عندك إننا لمهتدون. فلما كشفنا عنهم العذاب إذا هم ينكثون. ونادى فرعون في قومه قال يا قوم أليس لي ملك مصر وهذه الأنهار تجري من تحتي أفلا تبصرون. أم أنا خير من هذا الذي هو مهين ولا يكاد يبين. فلولا ألقي عليه أسورة من ذهب أو جاء معه الملائكة مقترنين فاستخف قومه فأطاعوه إنهم كانوا قوما فاسقين. فلما آسفونا انتقمنا منهم فأغرقناهم أجمعين فجعلناهم سلفا ومثلا للآخرين. The first ayah. And certainly did we send Musa with our signs to Fir'aun and his establishment, and he said, indeed, I am the messenger of the Lord of the world. So, Imam Sa'di rahimahullah, he says, لما قال تعالى واسأل من أرسلنا من قبلك من رسلنا أجعلنا من دون الرحمن آلهة يعبدون. Ayah number 45. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said to the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and as those who sent before you of our messengers, have we made besides the most merciful Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala deities to be worshipped? So then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bayyana hala Musa. He then makes clear the state and the story of Musa alayhi salam wa da'watahu, and his da'wah, his call, التي هي أشهر ما يكون من دعوات الرسل. One of the most famous of the calls of the messengers of Allah. Everybody knows it. ولأن الله تعالى أكثر من ذكرها في كتابه. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala أكثر, He made lots of mention of it in His book. فذكر حاله مع فرعون. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned the state of Musa with Fir'aun. فقال ولقد أرسلنا موسى بآياتنا. Indeed, and لقد with the lamb, and قد, indeed, for sure, we sent. Who's the one that sent? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. أرسلنا موسى بآياتنا. Musa alayhi salam with our ayat. Al-ayat, signs. Signs that leads or are signs for something. For what? For the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in worship. التي دلت دلالة قاطعة. These ayat from Allah دلت from الدليل in the past tense. It gave clear evidence. دلالة. The dalala is the evidence. قاطعة. قاطعة, swift, clear. No doubt about it. على صحة ما جاء به, to prove how true that what he brought with is the truth. كالعصا والحية وإرسال الجراد والقمل, like the stick and the snake and sending the locust and the lice, إلى آخر الآيات, and to the rest of the آيات that are mentioned. ولقد أرسلنا موسى بآياتنا, with our آيات, إلى فرعون وملئه, to فرعون and his ملأ. فقال إني رسول رب العالمين, to فرعون and his ملأ. And الملأ, usually the word الملأ refers to the elite, those who are of some level of charge, they have influence, they have wealth, they have authority. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent Musa alayhi salam to them. فقال إني رسول رب العالمين, and he said, indeed I am the messenger of the Lord of the Alameen. So he called them فدعاهم إلى الإقرار بربهم, to acknowledge the Lord subhanahu wa ta'ala, to believe in him. ونهاهم عن عبادة ما سواه, and he forbade them from worshipping other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And as you see what's going to lead after what's mentioned here, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala destroyed them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala punished them because of how evil they were, and that the matter is a continuous one. Happened also to the disbelievers at the time of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, Abu Jahl and the like of Abu Jahl, and it's a continuous one from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, one of the ways of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَلَمَّا جَاءَهُمْ بِآيَاتِنَا إِذَا هُمْ مِنْهَا يَضْحَكُونَ. But when he brought them our signs, our ayat, at once they laughed at them. إِذَا هُمْ مِنْهَا يَضْحَكُونَ. أي ردوها, they rejected it, وَأَنْكَرُوهَا, denied it, وَاسْتَهْزَأُوا بِهَا, they made mockery of it, ظُلْمًا وَعُلُوًا, out of wrongdoing and out of arrogance. عُلُوًا, from a عُلُو is to be of a higher level. فَلَمْ يَكُنْ لِقُصُورٍ بِالْآيَاتِ. And the arrogance is that people or a person would think that they are in a level where they already know the truth, they're upon the truth, and they make mockery of those who are less than them. فَلَمْ يَكُنْ لِقُصُورٍ بِالْآيَاتِ. So the ayat was not, for qusur, al-qusur is when something is insufficient. It wasn't because the ayat was not clear. It wasn't that the signs of Allah was not very clear. وَعَدَمْ وُضُوحٍ فِيهَا. ولهذا قال وَمَا نُرِيهِمْ مِنْ آيَةٍ, because it's the next ayah that every time we show them an ayah, it's bigger than the one, bigger than its sister. But before we get to this ayah, so here فَلَمَّا جَاءَهُمْ بِآيَاتِنَا إِذَا هُمْ مِنْهَا يَضْحَكُونَ. And this is how always the ways of the evil ones. Whenever they are faced with the truth, they don't think of it. They don't reflect upon it. They would oppose it with mockery. And the mockery is an immediate thing. It's not like that they think first and then they realized how foolish is the call of evil, whatever. That's why they make fun of it or they laugh about it. It's the word إِذَا gives you the sense that it's an immediate thing. They don't even look into it with their own reason. And this is how always the Sada or the elite or those who have been, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned them in the surah, that بل متعت هؤلاء وآباءهم, that he made them have the enjoyment in this life till when the truth came to them they rejected it, because they thought that since they have wealth and they have power, why do they need anything? They are in no need of anything whatsoever. So فلما جاءهم بآياتنا إذا هم منها يضحكون. So immediately إذا, they call it حرف مفاجأة. حرف مفاجأة, that means it's a surprise letter. That means things happen. What comes after إذا, it shows that what happened is without any thoughts, without any plans. It just happened all of a sudden, right there when it happened. فلما جاءهم, so when he showed them, when he brought to them the ayat, إذا هم يضحكون, that means immediately they start laughing. And الضحك is, of course, laughing, which is the sign of mockery, belittling these ayat, because these ayat are supposed to be faced with all kinds of seriousness, supposed to be faced with even weeping, with the fear of Allah, with hoping for the rewards from Allah, that the matter is either Jannah or the hellfire. And instead, they start laughing and making mockery of it. أي ردوها وأنكروها, as we heard. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَمَا نُرِيهِم مِّنْ آيَةٍ إِلَّا هِيَ أَكْبَرُ مِنْ أُخْتِهَا وَأَخَذْنَاهُمْ بِالْعَذَابِ لَعَلَّهُمْ يَرْجِعُونَ. And we showed them not a sign except that it was greater than its sister. And we seized them with affliction that perhaps they might return to faith. وَمَا نُرِيهِم مِّنْ آيَةٍ. So as he mentioned in the tafsir, it wasn't because of the insufficiency of the ayat that they made mockery of it. No, وَمَا نُرِيهِم مِّنْ آيَةٍ. We do not make them see any ayah إِلَّا, unless it's هِيَ أَكْبَرُ مِنْ أُخْتِهَا. It's greater than its sister, meaning the previous one. And as you see, وَمَا نُرِيهِم is in the present tense. So the present tense in this case is to as if you see the case with your own eyes. It has many different things to be done whenever the tense of the words or the verb. So this is here to make the person as if you see the case with your own eyes present. And إِلَّا هِيَ أَكْبَرُ مِنْ أُخْتِهَا. Yeah, that means every ayah, every sign comes is greater than the one before it. Right? Things like that. He says أي الآية المتأخرة أعظم من السابقة. الآية المتأخرة, the later one, is greater than the previous one. So وأخذناهم بالعذاب, and we seized them with punishment. وأخذناهم, we seized them with punishment كالجراد والقمل والضفادع والدم آيات مفصلات, as it's mentioned in the ayat of the Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent these things as a punishment for them. The locusts, the lice, the frogs, the blood. They would, every liquid turn to blood. Ayat mufassalat, very detailed ayat from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is adhab in this worldly life. لَعَلَّهُمْ يَرْجِعُونَ. It was punishment in this life, but they still have hope, so that they will return to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so that they would repent to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Punishment of them making mockery of the truth. And that's the case with everyone that make mockery of the truth. The punishment for them is severe unless they repent to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. لَعَلَّهُمْ يَرْجِعُونَ أي إلى الإسلام, to the deen of Islam, وَيُذْعِنُونَ لَهُ, and to submit themselves to it. لِيَزُولَ شِرْكُهُمْ وَشَرُّهُمْ, for their shirk and their evil to be removed. So, and لَعَلَّهُمْ here refers to Fir'aun and his elite. And the Prophet ﷺ, that he said that for every ummah, for every nation, there is its Fir'aun. لكل أمة لكل أمة فرعون. Right? So this is for every zaman, for every case, for every time of age, there is Fir'aun. This is what the Prophet ﷺ, he said to Abu Jahl, for example, that he كان هذا فرعون هذه الأمة. He was the Fir'aun of this ummah. Right? So, يعني Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best, it has shawahid, and it's a sound narration. So he said then after that, وقالوا, they said, فلما نعم فلما جاءهم بآياتنا إذا هم منها يضحكون وما نريهم من آية إلا هي أكبر من أختها وأخذناهم بالعذاب لعلهم يرجعون وقالوا يا أيها الساحر ادع لنا ربك بما عهد عندك إننا لمهتدون. And they said to Musa, O magician, invoke for us your Lord by what he has promised you. Indeed, we will be guided. وقالوا, he says, عندما نزل بهم العذاب, when the punishment came down onto them, يا أيها الساحر, they still, with the adab coming down on them, the arrogance is still there, and they would say, O magician, meaning يعنون موسى عليه السلام. He says, وهذا إما من باب التهكم به, whether this is like making a mockery of Musa عليه السلام, وإما أن يكون هذا الخطاب عندهم مدحا, or it might be يا أيها الساحر to them is praise, because the sorcerers were in a very high position at that time. So it can work both ways. فتضرعوا إليه بأن خاطبوه بما يخاطبون به من يزعمون أنهم علماؤهم. So they تضرعوا إليه, they turned to him with intense need, that they would address him, Musa alayhi salam, with what they would address those who they claim that they are their ulama. So their ulama were the sorcerers. And as we know from the story of Musa alayhi salam, how the sorcerers, they were in a very high position, وهم السحرة. فقالوا يا أيها الساحر ادع لنا ربك بما عهد عندك. Invoke your Lord with what he بما عهد عندك, by what he promised you. أي بما خصك الله به, with what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you especially for you. وفضلك به من الفضائل, and bestowed his favor upon you. والمناقب, and the traits and characteristics. أن يكشف عنا العذاب, that he would lift the punishment from us. بما عهد عندك, also العهد here is not just promise. Actually it's when someone is being trusted with something seriously very important. And of course they didn't mean prophethood there, because they disbelieved in the prophethood of Musa alayhi salam. Right? So they just wanted for their punishment to be lifted. This is what they cared for. Whatever means, even if it's through Musa alayhi salam, their enemy. And they knew that the Lord of Musa alayhi salam is able to. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said about Fir'aun, وَجَحَدُوا بِهَا وَاسْتَيْقَنَتْهَا أَنفُسُهُم ظُلْمًا وَعُلُوًّا. They denied it, but their own selves they had the certainty of. So, يا أيها الساحر ادع لنا ربك بما عهد عندك إننا لمهتدون. That means we will be guided if you lift the punishment away from them. And the punishment was a severe one. Imagine all of these things that are mentioned in the surah, in the verse in Surah Al Imran, with الجراد والأعراف والقمل والضفادع والدم. So then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says فلما كشفنا عنهم العذاب إذا هم ينكثون, which means, and when we removed from them the affliction, at once they broke their word. أي لم يفوا بما قالوا. فلما كشفنا, الكشف is when something is lifted away. So the punishment is lifted away from them. إذا هم, again إذا فجائية here, right? Instead of at least يعني to have some decency. يعني if the punishment, they asked for the punishment to be lifted, they asked Musa alayhi salam, the punishment Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala lifted away from them, at least have some time to have some humbleness. No, إذا هم ينكثون. Immediately they made a nakth. A nakth is breaking one's promise, one's trust. And it comes from when you have a rope that has a knot in it. So when you make it loose, you undo it. So this is what a nakth is. And that has also mentioned فلما كشفنا عنهم الرجز إلى أجل هم بالغوه إذا هم ينكثون. Right? So ينكثون أي لم يفوا بما قالوا. They did not fulfill what they've said. بل غدروا. They betrayed their promise. واستمروا على كفرهم, and they continued to be upon disbelief. And this is as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, فأرسلنا عليهم الطوفان والجراد والقمل والضفادع والدم آيات مفصلات فاستكبروا وكانوا قوما مجرمين. They became arrogant and they were criminal people. ولما وقع عليهم الرجز قالوا يا موسى ادع لنا ربك بما عهد عندك لئن كشفت عنا الرجز لنؤمنن لك ولنرسلن معك بني إسرائيل. They said that, as it's mentioned in other verse, that invoke your Lord with what he entrusted you with, that if he lifts away the ridges, the punishment from us, we will believe in you and we will send with you بني إسرائيل. فلما كشفنا عنهم الرجز إلى أجل هم بالغون. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala lifted that away from them, إذا هم ينكثون. So this is what they've done. So then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, before the punishment is being said here, he says ونادى فرعون في قومه قال يا قوم أليس لي ملك مصر وهذه الأنهار تجري من تحتي أفلا تبصرون. Fir'aun then called out among his people. He said, O my people, does not the kingdom of Egypt belong to me, and these rivers flowing beneath me? Then do you not see? Musta'li and arrogant, having control over his land, have prosperity, have wealth. Now the punishment is lifted away, and he has all kinds of means. Musta'liyan bibatili, having the arrogance by his falsehood. قد غره ملكه, his mulk, his kingdom deceived him. وأضغاه ماله, and his wealth made him deviated. وجنوده and his army. They have means, they are the greatest, they are the most powerful, and so on. قال يا قوم أليس لي ملك مصر. He said to his people, O my people, don't I have the kingdom of Egypt? أي ألست المالك لذلك المتصرف فيه. Am I not the owner to it? The mutasarrif, the one that do whatever he wants to do with it. And by the way, no, يعني, when you see the state of Musa alayhi salam, no power, no wealth, nothing whatsoever. And the people of Bani Israel are slaves even. And what does Musa has alayhi salam? The truth, the wahy, the revelation from Allah. And what Fir'aun has, everything else. The physical means are with Fir'aun. And most people, except those who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have mercy upon, as it's going to be mentioned in the verses, they don't follow the truth. They don't work. They don't make what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created in them with the reason and intellect to think, to see what's the truth versus falsehood. They are deceived by power. They're deceived by wealth and strength and so on. And because of their sins, because of their evil actions, they follow the evil. So he said to his people, أليس لي ملك مصر وهذه الأنهار تجري من تحتي. And these rivers, they runs من تحتي, that means with ease. He has all kinds of means. أي الأنهار المنسحبة من النيل في وسط القصور والبساتين. The Nile, the rivers, the river of the Nile منسحبة is dragged, it's brought to even inside of their castles, inside of their gardens, not just one strip of the river and that's the end of it. No, they use it in whatever means of goodness. أفلا تبصرون. Don't you see? Don't you see هذا الملك, this kingdom, this ownership, الطويل العريض, the tall and lengthy. He says وهذا من جهله البليغ. Imam Sa'di says this is from the intense ignorance of Fir'aun. حيث افتخر بأمر خارج عن ذاته. When someone is proud of something that is outside of his own self. And this is always the case of anyone ignorant. And the Quran teaches us how to see who's wise and who's not. If someone has the validity to be proud of something, you should only be proud of what you did, your action, yourself, not something that is beyond oneself. ولم يفخر بأوصاف حميدة. He did not show any proudness of because of some good qualities. ولا أفعال سديدة. No, not even actions that are upright. And as you see here, ونادى, which gives the sign that he raised his voice, right? That means the matter reached his people, and في قومه. So his people get to hear what he said. And he said, يا قوم أليس لي ملك مصر وهذه الأنهار تجري من تحتي أفلا تبصرون أم أنا خير من هذا الذي هو مهين ولا يكاد يبين. Or أم أنا خير من هذا الذي هو مهين. Or am I not better than this one, referring to Musa alayhi salam, who is insignificant and hardly makes himself clear. So or أنا خير, referring to himself, Fir'aun, or I'm better than this. هذا to belittle Musa alayhi salam. الذي هو مهين, that means he's insignificant, right? So al-mahin is al-dhalil, someone humiliated, someone is weak, someone is not from these elite ones of the people of Fir'aun, the houses of honor that they were in power of Egypt. It's someone that is of no significant things to him whatsoever. And as you see, I mean, as if you're when these things are explained, it's the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala always there. There's always someone that would say the same thing. We see that clearly in our lifetime, right? So everything is, the Quran is revealed as if it's revealed today. So أنا خير من هذا الذي هو مهين. So the ways of those who are arrogant, they don't talk facts and means of intellect, but rather they would put down their opponents. They would ridicule them and things like this. يعني قبحه الله. He means قبحه الله. He refers here to Fir'aun. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala curse him. بالمهين موسى. He refers to المهين to Musa alayhi salam ibn Imran. كليم الرحمن. Musa alayhi salam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala spoke to him. الوجيه. عند Allah, the one that is honored by Allah. أي, meaning Fir'aun saying أنا العزيز وهو الذليل. I am the mighty one and he's the humiliated one, المهان, the one that is to be ridiculed, المحتقر, the belittled one. فأينا خير, he's talking to his people, who is better, Fir'aun or the like of Musa alayhi salam? And ومع هذا, and with what he said about Musa alayhi salam, فلا يكاد يبين, he's not even able to articulate himself. يبين from البيان, عما في ضميره بالكلام, he's not able to speak right. لأنه ليس بفصيح اللسان, he's not someone that was given eloquent in speech. And that's why Musa alayhi salam, he asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to have Harun with him as a helper. وهذا ليس من العيوب في شيء. This is not actually from العيوب or the deficiencies or the faults in anything. إذا كان يبين ما في قلبه, as long as he is able to express what's in his heart. ولو كان ثقيلا عليه الكلام, even if الكلام, the speech is heavy on him, because he had this in him عليه السلام, but he's able to, of course, convey the message from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And as it's mentioned in the books of the Tafseer and Sufyan and others, when they said, when it's mentioned that he is حتى يفقهوا قولي, when he said that, why he wanted Harun, because he had, when he was a child, it was said to be that he had a heart cold that affected his ability to speak. So أم أنا خير من هذا الذي هو مهين ولا يكاد يبين, making mockery of Musa عليه السلام. ثم قال فرعون فلولا ألقي عليه أسورة من ذهب أو جاء معه الملائكة مقترنين, which means, then why have there not been placed upon him bracelets of gold or come with him the angels in conjunction? So making suggestions, making part of the mockery. أي فهل كان موسى بهذه الحالة? Should have Musa been in this state better than him if he wants to come and be of a opponent to me, meaning Fir'aun, أن يكون مزينا مجملا بالحلي والأساور, that he is adorned, beautified with all kinds of bracelets and golds and things like this. أو جاء معه الملائكة مقترنين, or he brings with him the angels مقترنين, like means his companions with him, they do not leave him. يعاونونه على دعوته, to help him for his da'wah, ويؤيدونه على قوله, and to affirm him of what he's saying. So all of these evil things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions, and ulqiya, as if it's like thrown onto him, if he claims to be someone that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent him. And subhanallah, the content of the prophets alayhi salam and what they convey to their people, something that can never be defeated. And this is one of the most important thing when it comes to the truth. The truth, as far as intellectually, when it's mentioned, when it's clearly stated, the evil ones, the disbelievers, they cannot oppose it with speech. They have no ability to do so. So what do? If they have the power and the means, they would threaten, they would make mockery. This is always their ways. So there's nothing, again, new in humanity. Human beings are the same human beings. This is one of the facts, one of the amazing facts that many people are not realizing when you read the Quran. There's nothing new in humanity. Everything is the same, just different individuals, different names, but it's the same characteristics. And human beings are according to speech and actions. They are based on speech and actions. They're not because of this name is Fir'aun, so it's different. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not mention anything in the Quran unless it's always going to be in this ummah of the Prophet ﷺ, because there's no more messenger to come. So the matter is as clear as it sounds. And it's the repetition of it, which is the way of Allah. So the last thing, because I know it's taken a long time, but it's all connected. So فَاسْتَخَفَّ قَوْمَهُ فَأَطَاعُوهُ إِنَّهُمْ كَانُوا قَوْمًا فَاسِقِينَ. So he استخف قومه. So he bluffed his people and they obeyed him. Indeed, they were themselves a people defiantly disobedient to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. أي استخف عقولهم. Fir'aun, what did he do to his people? استخف عقولهم. He belittled the minds of his people, his supporters. He belittled them. He bluffed them. He knows that they are foolish and they would follow him with whatever these shubah or these doubts, which has nothing to do with the truth whatsoever. He knew that once he spread this, he would get their applause and support and so on. So استخف عقولهم بما أبدى لهم من هذه الشبه, with whatever he showed of these shubah or these doubts, التي لا تسمن ولا تغني من جوع, does not benefit anything. And tusmin from a siman, that means someone is heavy, does not avail from hunger. It's a statement. لا تسمن ولا تغني من جوع. When someone is hungry and he wants something and you give him something that is not going to satisfy his hunger. This is how he did. He's just saying things. But he استخف عقولهم, he bluffed them. He worked on the fact that he belittled their minds, did not use intellect, did not use reason when he speaks to his people. ولا حقيقة تحتها, there's no reality to it. وليس الدليل على حق ولا على باطل. All of what he said is not evidence to whether it's true or falsehood. All of the things that he said. And this is the same thing with everyone that is upon batil. They would say things that has nothing to do with haqq and batil. Things that has nothing to do with the reality, has nothing to do with reason, with proving the truth. It's all making mockery, belittling someone, things of that nature. ولا تروج إلا على ضعفاء العقول. It only works and markets only for those who are weak-minded. And that's always the tyrants. They work on this. They work on the weak-minded of the people, not the intellectual ones. So he says, فأي دليل يدل على أن فرعون محق لكون ملك مصر له وأنهار تجري من تحته. Like when you think about it, what made Pharaoh think, or his people think that he is upon the truth? Because he's the king of Egypt and he has these rivers running from underneath. What is that to do with the truth? So if someone is the most powerful, does that mean that they own the truth? They don't go together. And when you learn the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, one of the very basic matters of knowledge is when you study that the al-mahil or infikak, that you have to separate things from one another. You don't mix them together. You know, what are evidences for what? Is this evidence or is not evidence for it? So وأي دليل يدل على بطلان ما جاء به موسى, and what evidence gives to show that Musa alayhi salam is upon falsehood, لقلة أتباعه, because he has less followers. That means he's upon falsehood. وثقل لسانه, and his tongue is heavy. وعدم تحلية الله له, and he's not the most beautiful. Where is that to do with the truth? Nothing. ولكنه لقى ملأ لا معقول عندهم. But Fir'aun, this is what his people, he met people, this is his people, ملأ لا معقول عندهم. They don't go by the معقول. They don't go by the reason and intellect. فمهما قال, whatever he says, اتبعوه. They would follow him. من حق وباطل, whether it's true or falsehood. إنهم كانوا قوما فاسقين. This is the reason why. They were people that are فاسقين, rebellious, disobedient to Allah. فبسبب فسقهم قيض لهم فرعون. If you remember the ayat before, because of the fisq, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would send shayateen to aid the people and to adorn the evil to them. So because of the rebellious nation and disobedience to Allah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala قيض لهم فرعون. He sent Fir'aun to them. يزين لهم الشرك والشر, to adorn the evil for them. So one of the ways of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is that when nations, when people are evil and disobeying Allah, doing all kinds of evil, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will send a leader for them to make them immersed and indulged more and more into what they are already upon. فلما أسفونا أي أغضبونا بأفعالهم. When they made us angry, when they made Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala angry because of their actions, انتقمنا منهم فأغرقناهم أجمعين. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revenged from them. We took retribution from them and drowned them all. فجعلناهم سلفا ومثلا للآخرين. And we made them salaf. And this is now the point of the story for those who are reciting the Quran today to learn. And we made them a precedent and an example for the later people. ليعتبر بهم المعتبرون. So now Fir'aun is gone. His people are gone. So what's the benefit of reading this? This is a continuous scene that is going to be repeated all the time. فجعلناهم سلفا. Salaf, precedent, the previous ones. ومثلا, and an example للآخرين, to the later ones. ليعتبر بهم المعتبرون ويتعظ بأحوالهم المتعظون. Someone wants to be reminded, someone wants to benefit from the admonition. Look at the story of Fir'aun and what was between Fir'aun and Musa alayhi salam. and what brings the wrath of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and what causes the punishment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala unto people, and the qadar of Allah, the decree of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that is established as a result of the actions of the people. We'll stop here inshallah ta'ala, otherwise there's so many things to be reflected upon, but what is left, the meanings are clear. We have to reflect upon the meanings. We have to seek the strength as the Prophet ﷺ, the ayat was given him that strength and this comfort, the comfort in his heart from what he's facing from his people, to be firm and to be steadfast upon the truth. We'll stop here inshallah ta'ala and see you next time. There's a question, what is the difference between fisq and rijz? No, a rijz is a punishment. So because what has been mentioned in the two verses, the rijz and the adab. So the rijz is it's basically the punishment also, as it's mentioned here, but a rijz in general it's refers to the severe punishment. Sometimes the asnam, the idols are called rijz, or the whispers of shaitan. So, but it comes in many different ways. وَالَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا بِآيَاتِ رَبِّهِمْ لَهُمْ عَذَابٌ مِّن رِجْزٍ أَلِيمٌ. They have a punishment from rijz, which is a severe punishment from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Al-fisq is the action of rebelling against the commands of Allah. Did the people of Musa alayhi salam know that there is Allah like the disbelievers of Quraysh and associate partners with him, or did they disbelieve that Allah is the creator? They all had this, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the Lord of the Alameen. So this is something that is the norm of the human beings. So they knew that. And that's one of the evidence. Du'na Rabbak, invoke your Lord for us. Now, is the story of Fir'aun's people meant to an illustration of man ya'shu an dhikri rahman nuqayyid lahu shaytanan? It's part of that, yes. As he mentioned here in the Tafseer. So this doesn't have to be the jinni shaitan. There's a statement, even though it's not a hadith, but it's from the statement of some of the tabi'een, and the meaning is correct, which is in takunu yuwalla alaykum. In takunu yuwalla alaykum. If you are, whatever you are, you will have your leaders accordingly. Your leaders are reflection of who you are, right? So this is if the people are righteous, they will get someone righteous. If the people are something else, they will get something else. So that's why the rulers and things like this, when it comes to the hukm, is to be obedient to them and so on. But the reality of the matter is that they are to be looked at as either a reward or a punishment from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? So this is from kalam of some of the salaf. كما تكونوا يولى عليكم. We'll continue inshallah, and hopefully inshallah by tomorrow we should read the verses, memorize them with the intention of implementing the meanings of it in the hearts, so that we have it in our hearts and we carry it to the next set of verses inshallah. وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.